everyone, John Henry here, slingshotfutures.com, and welcome to the Daily Market Mindset, where we take a look at the psychology behind the moves today so we can better understand tomorrow. And today, we're taking a look at the crude oil futures. Now, crude as a whole has been bearish, and if you miss that, maybe look at Friday. Now, in all seriousness, this has had a very strong move down. We started off the move on the 19th, beautiful drive to the downside, nice little wedge pause on the daily chart, or at least on the hourly chart, and then another consecutive breakdown. Now, the same thing that happened on the, in this case, the 20th, we're expecting to see the same thing again, where you have that big move, it goes into a pause, you have a big move, it goes into a pause. It still has a bias, it still generally is bearish, so you're looking for possible bear opportunities, but you have to understand the fact that, well, the bears own the market. Going long against that could be a very difficult time. Now, we gapped higher after all of the news over the weekend with the French elections and all that fun stuff. Crude oil remained relatively unaffected. And that could have the market looking at it kind of like a shelter market. That's a sentence I wouldn't think I would ever say in my life. Crude oil is a shelter market? What is John is going nuts a little bit? In this case, yeah, all of the other markets had some really big gapping movement all over the place. Crude oil kind of maintained itself, fairly calm, fairly kind of steady. So we have a small gap higher and an immediate bearish move down. Sellers are already interested in this market right off the bat, and that's going to be a bar one swing. That's a trade that you take off of the first candle of the day. Now, for me personally, I'm not a huge fan of taking the first trade of the day. I like giving it a little bit of time. But when we get a nice bear candle, followed up with another nice bear candle, small bullish move, and then it traps and immediately slams lower, now we have buyers that are stuck in the move, and we have sellers that are dominating the market. And that allows for a sell to drive the market back down to a new low. Now, in this case, this is one of those situations where we have a major engulfing candle. And we have to put ourselves in the mindset of a lot of sellers. Would a seller want to sell way down here? Probably not, right? There will be some, and I don't necessarily disagree with it, but expecting a small little pullback makes a lot of sense. Sellers don't want to sell all the way down at the bottom when the objective really is just a prior low of day, prior week's low. There's not a whole lot of room when you sell down here. You may be able to get a much better price if you just give it a little bit of time. So although there is a selling opportunity here, waiting a little while offers up a much better signal to drive the market back down right here to finish off that move. Now, in this case, it didn't quite finish off the move. It actually trapped around a little bit where we had that major area of support put in. This is also where we had congestion from Friday, all coming in the same place. Sellers try to break down. They try to break down again. We get a big bull response, but being the first one to the party, usually not the best thing in the world. So letting that bull response go by, wait for the sellers to try to take it back, and notice one key thing here. The sellers don't get triggered in, right? A seller would have to get triggered in one tick, at least below that bear candle, unless they were aggressive and sold the close of it. So they haven't been triggered in. None of the sellers are there waiting to drive the market down, and it turns right back to the bull side. Now, I'm not a big fan of this buy right here, but I have it marked up because it is an area of interest. At the very least, if I were short, I would be looking to exit above that bull candle because I don't like that response. That's the last thing that you want to see, right? You have a nice breakdown, a beautiful continuation, big bull response, not a surprise. Maybe sellers just waiting to jump in and dive it down again. But when the sellers come time to show up and they don't, that would make me really nervous. So although you could buy here for a small scalp, and it looks like it may or may not have worked, it would have been close. If I were short, I would look to exit and then maybe re-enter a little bit later. We get a bull response up, it comes up and taps a triple top, right? At that point, it made it into a triple top. We had 1, 2, and then 3, and a very strong bear response. Now, I don't have a bear sell marked here for a couple of reasons. First of all, this bullish response here would make me really nervous. I wouldn't want to be the first seller to the party. I would want to see some continuation, right? So we get good continuation here, but the candle looks awful, right? It's a horrendous looking candle. All of the wick is at the bottom. It's a brick top candle, just not good enough, right? Then we get the follow through, right? The bears finally show up to the party. It's still not the best looking candle, but much heavier. We have open gapping to the downside after a mid trap high and a triple top. Looking for a breakdown lower makes a lot more sense with a little bit later of a delay with the entry over here on the third candle to the downside in this case. That allowed the sellers to break down and finish off that move before coming right back up. Now, that's where we start going into the afternoon session. There were a couple more opportunities, but that really kind of takes care of the morning session. Just a really interesting day overall in terms of not only technical analysis, but a lot of psychology behind the moves. We have kind of a shelter market in crude oil, which is very unusual. You don't get that very often, and we can definitely see that with a little bit more whip, chop and slop, and back and forth. So that's going to do it for this one. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you found it useful, maybe a little bit interesting and entertaining, and we'll see you next time.